Hello, friends. Patrick McFarland here of the Liberty Weekly podcast. This one is episode 109, and the show notes may be found at libertyweekly.net/109. I'm really excited to be inviting on the show Jay. Jay runs several businesses. One is, a new podcast called AnarchoInc. He is also the man behind Anarcho Coffee. And I've been seeing Anarcho Coffee. You got banned from Facebook, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But I've been seeing it pop up all over the place. So welcome to the show, Jay.
Thanks for having me on.
So why don't you talk a little bit about, we'll get into like the entrepreneurial spirit, but why don't you talk a little bit about Anarcho Coffee? Because is that like your flagship?
That is the flagship. That is where I started. What ended up happening was I was looking for libertarian coffee to kind of keep the money in the movement, so to speak, and I didn't find anything. And I was listening to another libertarian podcast, and they were talking about Death Wish coffee. And I've been a fan of Death Wish coffee for some time now. But there was one post that they put out by I can't remember the exact words, but it was like hashtag law enforcement day, and we support our cops and we support the troops. And I don't want to put my money into a company that is supporting those things, the things that as libertarians we talk about, which is just an extension of the state, right? So I built my own. I built Anarcho Coffee. I don't know anything about I was a bit of a coffee connoisseur, but I didn't know how to get beans or get a distributor, and I did it all in about a month, and it's been pretty successful. So I'm happy. And we have fun roasts like Rothbard roast or voluntary Valhalla. We're going to be releasing some new roasts in the next couple of weeks. We'll have Mises's Mix. So just having a lot of fun with it. And a portion of our profits actually go to nonprofits like the Mises Institute.
That is awesome. Yeah. That is so cool. So the Black Rifle Coffee Company too is
same. That was the same. I like their brand, not gonna lie. Great marketing, but very military driven, right? It's and again, I support the individual. Sorry, let me back up. I don't have any disrespect for military individuals. I don't like the idea of the military industrial complex, right? So I feel like Black Rifle Coffee just is supporting that even more. Like, it's okay to be a soldier, and it's okay to go fight for your country and rah America, right? And so that's why I started Anarcho Coffee, is to compete with those brands.
Yeah, and I agree. Their marketing is fantastic. I mean, some of it's really badass. Black Rifle Coffee.
Yeah.
So I mean, you get into the whole, I don't know, it just really speaks to people, especially around here, people that I know who are really into the, I call them law and order conservative types.
Yes.
But yeah, it is to get our own voice out. It's good to get our own voice out there and to compete with these and offer, something for people in our spheres too. But can you talk a little bit about the process, what you learned of how to, find distributors, and I'm going to ask you about your corporate structure if you have one. So be ready for that.
Yeah. So the first thing I did was living in New Hampshire was, did I need a license to sell coffee and what is the FDA regulations around coffee, right? Because I don't want the King's guardsman kicking in my door and saying you don't have the right to sell coffee. So the beauty about coffee is you actually don't need an FDA license to sell it because it's just the bean itself is what it is. There's no other ingredients in coffee. There are different types of coffee, where it's grown and how it's grown, and you can add flavor. If you start adding things in like CBD, then it becomes a little, but if you're just selling pure coffee, no FDA license really. And in the state of New Hampshire, to be a reseller or a retailer of coffee, or just even a general retailer in New Hampshire, you don't need a license. So since I'm based out of New Hampshire, that's as far as I went with the looking up the laws.
Okay, yeah, and so I do some business organization work with my law firm too.
Yes.
So I was going to ask you if it sounds like you're just a sole proprietorship or kind of like a general.
I am.
Okay.
For now.
Yeah.
There's several. I have like this manifesto about Anarcho Coffee. One of my goals is no business loans, no board members, right? No bank loans. I want to see if I can build this from the ground up, very entrepreneurial, right? And I think I can. I think if I get enough supporters, I can eventually become an LLC or incorporated. But right now, it's just a sole proprietor DBA.
Okay, yeah, and we can, I guess we could, I haven't really covered this on the show very much, but there is some kind of it's a little controversial in libertarian circles to this idea of limited liability, because that's one of the biggest benefits of organizing as an LLC. Say, LLC is kind of the general thing that everyone would use, but if you organize as an LLC, you could be a single member and you could have your operating agreement and manage your company that way with some limited liability to protect yourself too. But it would be, the liability would be incurred against the assets of the LLC and not you personally, right?
Correct.
And so what, from a libertarian standpoint, is this a special class that is granted by the government? I don't know if I particularly agree with that analysis, but I'm just kind of advocating here.
No, and as a libertarian ANCAP, I'm trying to figure it out myself. Truly, this is all an experiment. It's quite a fun one, but also so scary because I've run businesses as a DBA or sole proprietor. And if somebody comes after you and they really want to come after you, they can get everything you own, right? And so that scares me a little bit.
Yeah, and I guess in my own musings, I think that in a libertarian society where you would have free competition in terms of the production and enforcement of laws and arbitration, maybe you would have a contractual agreement with some kind of dispute resolution agency that here is the pool of assets that you can go after. When you do business with me, you sign a contract that, and you agree that there's a certain pool of assets that you can come after if we have some kind of a tort or a products liability thing.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. And I think that's what, from my understanding, I'm no lawyer. I mean, I'm by trade, I'm a web developer, digital marketer, right? That's what I do full time. And most companies I know set up as an LLC to protect their personal assets if they're ever sued. And so, just seeing other businesses, that's basically what I know is to like, I should LLC, right? But being in the libertarian movement, I feel like I'm kind of protected, right? I feel like people who are buying Anarcho coffee have some sort of respect, right? There is that voluntary exchange. And it is just coffee, and it's really good coffee at the end of the day. So
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment, man. And so Anarcho coffee is not the only thing that you do, right? I understand.
yes.
Also Anarcho CBD, and what was there another one for guns or ammunition or
No.
Oh, okay.
So what I say the mothership is anarchoinc.com, and Anarcho Inc. is your home for buds, brews, beans, and Bitcoin, right? So your buds is anarchocbd.com, which is right now I'm just a HempWorks affiliate. So any legal action is with HempWorks. Technically, it's legal to sell CBD in the country. Some states like California have some restrictions around that, but it's pretty safe to become a HempWorks affiliate. Then there is the Brews, which is something brand new I just thought of, called anarchobeer.com, which hasn't not been spun up. It's just coming soon right now, and eventually I'd like to get, unfortunately, my liquor license to become a beer distributor, but we'll see how that goes. And then there is your beans, which is Anarcho coffee, and then we accept Bitcoin on all of these platforms.
Yeah, excellent. The brew was the one that I missed, so I apologize.
No worries. Yeah.
Yeah, so what, and then you've also started the Anarcho Inc. podcast, which
The podcast, which is I just say free market business, and we interview anybody who has a business in the libertarian movement, right? And it's been very interesting, because we've had on a Agoras graphic design company, and they only barter or accept cryptocurrency, and they remain anonymous. So there are some very interesting companies out there, and I just like to bring some light to them, right? And there's a website out there called liberty.menu, where it's got all these libertarian businesses on there, or libertarian like businesses. But that's the whole idea of the show. Occasionally I will cover politics, excuse me. It's just unavoidable not to talk about politics.
Oh yeah, definitely. No, and that's great. I mean, we were talking about how you just had Daniel Elwood from the Actual Anarchy podcast, and my friend
Yes.
P from Sounds Like Liberty. So Libertarian Union guys. I'll be putting links in the show notes page to all your businesses.
Thanks.
And we'll let you plug them again at the end of the show. So yeah, that's great. But why don't can you talk a little bit? You're up in New Hampshire. Are you originally from New Hampshire?
No, I am originally from Rhode Island. I did my undergraduate in Rhode Island, and I started working in Rhode Island, and it was a real struggle. Over time, what I realized why I was struggling was the amount of taxes. Everything was taxed. There was a 7-8% sales tax, uh, excise tax on your car, registration fees on the car, income tax, federal income tax. It was one day I got a water bill from the city of East Providence for over $600. And they said, oh, we had to do work just in your area, and you have to pay your fair share of taxes for this work. And my wife started looking, because at the time I was working in Lexington, Mass, and we were just looking to get out of Rhode Island. It's a real welfare state, and I'm sorry for all my family that still lives there, but it's just it's just a shithole in terms of politics and taxes. So we started looking around, and Massachusetts is not any better, and so we found New Hampshire, and I've been very happy living here. There's so many benefits. Our property tax can be very high depending on where you live. Where I live, it's pretty low. But I do live out in the middle of nowhere. I joke around saying it's like a bunker out there. I got like this bunker of 3 acres, but it's nice. I don't have a water bill from the city because I have my own well, right? And there is no sales tax. There is no state income tax, and I don't think there is even a federal income tax. So in terms of a tax haven, it's pretty good. I was recently researching, and I found that we do have a business tax, and I think it's like if you make over $200,000, you've got to pay in a little bit more on your business. So not a complete tax haven like the gentleman from Anarcho dollar vigilante living out in Mexico, but it's good. I would say it's helped me in my finances for sure, moving out this way.
And are you part of the Free State Project then?
I recently did join. I didn't move out here for the Free State Project. I just joined to network and meet like-minded people. I stopped living in a bubble, and I just started putting myself out there, and it's been awesome. The community is great. I went to the New Hampshire Liberty Forum. It was awesome. You've got guys like Mance Raider or Pete now who showed up, Lynn Albert, Vin Armani, and vendors were accepting Bitcoin. People were open carrying. People were selling CBD products. The Libertarian Party was there. Just tons of information, and it was great. Yeah.
Is recreational marijuana legal in New Hampshire?
Not yet. Okay. We are very close. There is a bill on the table, and our lovely governor is against it. But from what I understand, I think we should pass it. I mean, all our neighboring states have already passed it. And I think that would be great, because I think we'd be the first state that would have a state law for concealed carry and marijuana. So halfway there.
Yeah. Well, at least in Wisconsin, everyone here is kind of, I mean, there's whispering, and I don't know if Wisconsin or Minnesota will legalize first. Michigan legalized, but there's a Democrat governor, Tony Evers, who was just elected, and he's bad on guns. And of course, he's bad on a lot of economic issues, but everyone expects him to pass marijuana legalization. And there was a non-binding referendum this summer that passed in every single city that they had the referendum by like 60% or more. And
wow.
So I think, and there's a bunch of vape and head shops around, at least in my area, that I think are just waiting. And I stopped into one and talked with the owners, and they said, yeah, they're fully expecting it to be, and they're just waiting. So
yeah,
maybe it's only a matter of time. But
same here in New Hampshire. All of the vape shops are carrying CBD now, so we'll get there.
Yeah, I was in on a bond hearing a couple weeks ago, and there was this guy who was getting his bond instated, and he was asking the judge, a judge that I've clerked for, because there's a lot of provisions in it, and one is, you know, remain law-abiding, no drugs or medications not prescribed to you. And the guy was like, well, can I still take my CBD for my pain? And the judge had no idea what CBD was. And he was like, well, if you have a prescription, you can take it, but I don't think doctors give prescriptions for CBD.
No, I don't think so. I was just listening to Joe Rogan, and he had a guy on who does prescribe cannabis. So, yeah, there are some doctors who will, you know, get you a prescription, but most doctors, you know, won't. Even around here, when I asked, they're like, no, you can just use the whatever. If like you have anxiety, just take Prozac, you know,
right? Yeah,
instead of something natural like CBD.
Yeah, or you got some minor back pain. Here's some Vicodin. Go nuts.
Here's some Vicodin.
You want some perks?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The opiate crisis here is bad.
Yeah, it's really bad too.
I work in Manchester, and I was actually went to lunch with a friend who is also part of the Free State Project movement, and we were walking back from lunch, and there are all these addicts just lined up on the street, laying down, and that's the worst I've ever seen it. Maybe they just got out from some session or some class or something, but it was like, holy crap. It's sad.
In the middle of the winter, right?
In the middle of the winter. It was about 38, 40 degrees today, but they were all outside, and they have their sleeping bags and their carts, and it's just a really sad scene. Yeah. It's unfortunate because I watched that documentary, A Leaf of Faith, where they talk about kratom. I don't know if you've heard of that drug. Yeah. And it seems, from what I heard, if you're addicted to opiates, kratom can help you get off of that. So, you know, but then states start making it illegal to buy kratom, you know, and it's just perpetual cycle of oppression.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like it's either the opiates or it's meth. And Of course, they're present in each area, but at least in our community, it's meth mostly. And I guess you don't really see them burn out quite as much as people on heroin or opiates because, you know, they nod off and stuff. But you can, I mean, you see people out and about in the community and at Walmart, and they, I mean, they're kind of, you know, dressed down and pajamas,
they have no teeth,
right? And they have sores, and you know, I have clients who are on methamphetamines, and the court system is trying to cope with it, but it's really hard, and they've produced alternatives like drug court. So, you know, instead of being convicted to something, you get them on a deferred prosecution agreement where they agree to go to drug court and seek treatment. So those are some positive changes, but yeah, I got to bring it back though to your businesses. No worries. It's a great conversation, man. But I just wanted to make a point to ask you, like, what did you always want to be a business owner, and what kind of inspired you?
Yeah. I talk about that on my about me page. I say us a lot, and it's just me. But yeah, I enjoy, I'm very creative, and I enjoy creating things. I enjoy the entire Adobe suite. I like graphic design. I like video editing, audio editing, creating websites. I'm a web developer by trade, so it comes very naturally. And the idea of being my own boss and not working this 9 to 5 and reporting in to some manager who is like, you got to get this done or you're going to get fired. I want to be my own boss, and that's like number one. And number two is really financial freedom. You know, I don't know about you, but like a lot of us work paycheck to paycheck, right? You know, you may have like a month of savings saved up just in case, but you know, I don't want to live like that anymore. You know, and I want to be able to leave something for my kids, you know, whether they take over the business or somebody buys it, you know, it's really about that financial and economic freedom. And I think I get that from, you know, guys like Tom Woods and Jason Stapleton, right? They're always talking about, you know, building your skills, going out there and, you know, do it on your own, you know? So, and it's fun, you know, you get to meet different people. So.
And have you always felt that way since you were a kid?
You know, when I was a kid, I actually was told that I was going to be a lawyer, believe it or not. And I took my first real law class in college. It was cyber law because I was studying computer science, and I failed it. I was terrible at law. When I figured out that I was creative was when I started making my own comics. I was a big fan of the Simpsons growing up, and I used to draw Bart Simpson all the time. And I loved drawing, and I used to create all these like cartoon animations, and that spiraled my career into graphic design and then web design and then pretty much digital marketing. All that creative stuff you see online is essentially what I've been doing for the past 10 years. So yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's really cool because I always did well in school, and I don't know, at first I wanted to be a psychiatrist, and then I declared the most undecided major, an English major with a focus in creative writing. Uh,
Okay.
but along with declaring, I also told myself I would go to law school. So it's kind of mirrored paths we have, I suppose. Uh,
Yeah.
Foils of each other, perhaps. Um, yeah, so let's see here. So, what has your experience been so far with the podcast? I know we kind of touched on that, but
It it's it's actually been good but hard. And the hard part is actually the technical and
okay.
how do I do uh group interviews or individual another person and not get feedback. One thing that's been really aggravating and I can't figure it out is I hear myself in my headphones and it drives me nuts. I don't know how to fix it.
Oh, does it? No,
Yeah.
you're supposed to hear that. At least I monitor my own self.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
that's the way you're supposed to do it, as long as it doesn't go in the microphone.
Right. But it sounds weird to hear yourself in the headphones. And
Yeah.
see, so that's how much of a noob I am at this.
You get used to it. I mean, when I first started, I hated the sound of my own voice.
Okay.
I still sometimes don't like it, but yeah, I think you'll find though that using Google Hangouts, if you use that, it's
Yeah.
actually it really makes things streamlined and simple. As much as I hate Google, I really do. And
The Google Hangouts. I started using Zoom,
yeah, Zoom is nice too.
and Zoom is great. I tried Zencaster, but there's no video, and some people like the video, and I like the video because, like we are now, we
Mhm.
can see each other and see each other's facial reactions, right? And give those, human cues when, like, okay, I'm done talking now.
Yeah, that certainly helps too.
Yeah.
Because when you start, you sometimes get like awkward pauses, or especially when there's multiple people and you just
Yes.
you don't know when to cut in.
And the other thing, and I've noticed I did it here, was stop using
Yeah, that's really hard. Or I have cues that I use all the time that I try and get rid of it, but I think the key is to not feel this tendency to fill dead air. It's okay to have some dead air.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think the more you do it, the more comfortable you get. But if I'm out of practice, I still will feel the need to fill dead air. I just don't know if that goes away or not.
No, agreed. And it's public speaking basically is what we're doing, right? And it can be difficult, right? So here I'm trying not to say and I
Um,
want to say so badly, but I'm
yeah,
working on it.
it can be difficult. It can be really rewarding too, but it's
Yeah.
definitely difficult at certain times. So let's why don't you plug your stuff one last time? And I understand before you plug, you have
Mm.
an ebook, right? And that's a
I
theater voice?
do.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I'll talk about that briefly. So a lot of people will ask me, well, what are your side hustles and how do I get started? I would say if you're going to get started, the easiest thing you can do is start a blog and put some affiliate links to Amazon up there. And then the ebook talks about that. It also gives you a bunch of resources where you can submit articles to get traffic to your website. It's pretty basic, but it's a good read. And it's called Affiliate Anarchy. So keeping with the anarchy theme. And it's only $5.99. And you can pick that up at anarchoinc.com/ebook. And I guess I'll plug everything else while I'm at it. So the best place to go is anarchoinc.com, and then anarchocoffee.com. And of course, we're on all the social medias. Usually you can find Anarcho Coffee everywhere: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and same with Anarcho Inc.
And I believe that you appeared on the Actual Anarchy podcast as well.
Yes, episode 101. We did V for Vendetta. And before I forget, let's give your listeners 10% off the first order. LPW10. That's LPW10. You can use that anarchocoffee.com. 10% off.
Awesome. Yes. So everyone, all the Liberty Weekly listeners, I'll direct you to the show notes page at libertyweekly.net/108. We'll put that promo code in the show notes page as well. And I think I'll save my plugs because my listeners know my plugs, but I won't overwhelm them. I want to send everyone over to you, Jay.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. So, and I think we're planning an appearance where I'll go on AnarchoInc podcast.
Yes.
So,
and it's super easy. It's who, what, where, why, and how. That's all you got to answer. And if you want to hang out, then we throw that for the supporters. So, yeah.
Okay, right on. Well, it's been a real pleasure to get to talk to you, Jay. And for all my listeners, go check out Jay's business. Doing good stuff.
Thanks.